right, so there we go. There we are. We're up. All right, so welcome to the show. Welcome. Today we have New York Times bestselling author Lexi Post, contemporary cozy mystery author Jody Holford, and Publishers Weekly bestselling author Danica Winters for this week's version of Romance Happy Hour. And yay, I'm very excited. And Dylan has discovered an amazing caramel apple teeny drink.
Ooh,
that we hope that you have made to join us here. But so did you have anything you wanted to add, Dylan? Oh yeah. So
what do you introduce yourself, Dawn?
Yeah, I'm Dawn Luedecke. What are you working on?
I'm Dylann Crush. I write contemporary romance and contemporary westerns. The past 2 weeks, I have been working on edits. And I am also, Monday, I will have my first project up on Radish. It's called Betting on the Bad Boy, and I'm pretty excited about that. And then October 30th, my second book comes out in the Holiday Texas series. It is a Christmas novel, Cowboy Christmas Jubilee. So, yeah, I've been busy. How about you?
Hey. I have been editing and trying to get a couple of my backlist self-published. In addition to that, I just had a release Fiery Passion, and I'm giving away 2 massages with baskets. So if anybody wants to win a free massage, just hop over to my Facebook page and enter in the raffle copter to win it. And so let's introduce our amazing guests here. I'm going to bring them up.
All right. Yep. I'm going to bow out so you can bring them all up and they can introduce themselves, and then I'll be back in a bit.
All right. Sounds good. Here we go. All right, Jody, I see you there.
Hello.
And Danica. Hi, Danica. And hi. All right, so in our lineup today, we'll be hearing from Lexi first, and then Jody, and then Danica. So Lexi, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to us, to the readers?
Okay. Well, I'm Lexi Post, and I write romance inspired by classic literature. No, it's not boring. That's the first thing people think. But I basically that brings me to paranormal romances, military romances, cowboy romances, and sci-fi romances. Those sci-fi ones are actually inspired by Emily Dickinson poetry. Yeah. So my 25th book is coming out next month. Yay!
Awesome.
Congrats, Lexi.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what about you, Jody?
My name is Jody Holford. I write contemporary romance and cozy mysteries. My latest release was out this week, and it was Never Expected You. It's part of a series that stands on its own.
Awesome. Yay. I can't wait to read it.
Thank you.
And Danica?
Hi, I'm just the resident clown. No, I'm just kidding. No, my name's Danica Winters. I have been at conference all day, so I have conference face right now. But it's really fun. My latest novel is Forever a Queen. It just came out. It's a self-published project. I've had pretty good success with it, and I'm really happy. And I'll be sharing it with you guys tonight.
Yay! I can't wait to hear.
Oh, did you want us to tell what our giveaways were tonight?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go ahead and do that.
I just remembered. Well, I'm going to give away an e-copy of Heart of Frankenstein and an e-copy of Pleasures of Christmas Past, because Christmas is coming.
Yay!
Nice.
Jody?
I'm giving away a copy of my friend Christy's book, Going Down on One Knee. And I'm also giving away an e-copy of the first book in the series, Let It Be Me.
Yay. And Christy is going to be our guest next week as well. So hopefully whoever wins that book can will fall in love with her and then meet her next week.
Yeah, they will.
Danica?
You might have seen my puppy slide through the camera. I did not give him away. I have a daughter who handed him off. So tonight I'm going to be giving away an Amazon $25 gift card. You guys can use it for whatever books you want. The first book in my Irish Traveler series, Once a Gypsy, is going to be free on Barnes & Noble, 99 cents on Amazon today. So if you guys want to check it out.
Okay, I'm going to definitely check it out because I love your work.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to bring Dylan back up here, and we're going to let Lexi take over here, read everybody the excerpt of her book. And then if you have any questions for her specifically at the end, she'll be there to answer any questions you might have. So just 1 second here while we get Lexi up. All right, Lexi, go for it.
Okay. Well, I do need to set this up for you. This name of this book is Heart of Frankenstein. And I, of course, use Mary Shelley's Frankenstein as my inspiration. At the end of her book, Victor Frankenstein dies on a ship in the Arctic Circle. And the monster actually runs off on the ice. And that's the end of the story. So my book starts 300 years later. And he's still in the Arctic Circle, but he is in Alaska. And he goes out one afternoon and he finds a woman frozen on the shelf of his mountain. And so he takes her back to his cabin, and she has extreme frostbite in her hands and feet, so she can't use either. And she's snowblind for the first 3 days. Now, this excerpt is after she's actually gotten her sight back. So, and I will have to tell you when I switch point of view, because the monster, Mary Shelley never gave the monster a name. So he doesn't have a name right now in my book. Okay, so her name is Angela. And she starts off, "You haven't told me how you found me. Was I far away from here? Were you out hunting and saw my red parka?" "No, you were on the mountain across from this one. It was a narrow ledge, not like here, which is a large one. I had planned to catch fish and looked up at the sun to judge the time when I noticed a reflection of sun bouncing off. So I investigated. There was a few the path. She brought the cup to her lips and she drank. I was following my phone. I knew there was a signal there. I used it. It's probably dead now. Dead? That's never. She saw the soothing, but I didn't keep her from the tone of voice.
Can you see her?
We seem to have some technical difficulties. I wondered if it was just me because my Wi-Fi went all wonky last time.
Yeah, mine. Let me see. Lexi, can you hear us? You're kind of freezing up a little bit. Let's see. Let me see if I pull her down. All right. So, Lexi, should we move on to Jody and then see if she can get...
Yeah, let's see if maybe if Jody's ready, if she wants to go, and then we can try Lexi again later. Sorry, Lexi.
Sorry, you're freezing up on us. I thought it was me.
I thought it was me.
All right, so Jody.
Hi.
Hi.
All right. Well, I'm starting right from chapter 1. I had to be sure that I didn't get a kiss in there because the only other time I've read out loud, I accidentally chose a kiss scene. And my kids were there, so yeah. All right, Never Expected You, and there it is. Can you see it?
And that's the one that just came out.
Yeah, this one. Chapter 1. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. With all the things she'd been through in the last year, Stella Lane had no intention of letting a bird get the best of her. She stared up at the pain in the ass, albeit cute, kind of cute parakeet trying to poke holes in her good intentions. It was just after 10 a.m. and she was ready to call it a day. She wasn't even supposed to be working today, and she'd already helped a Great Dane through a tricky delivery, given shots to a very sweet kitty, and had her purple Converse puked on by a nervous Labradoodle. Just another day at the office. She grinned, thinking it could be worse. Right now, the bird was just flying around. At least he wasn't dive-bombing her or leaving messes everywhere. The bird chirped, mocking her as it flew a little higher in the reception area. Come down here and say that, Stella sang out in a syrupy voice. She crooked her finger like somehow that was a magic spell. She snorted out a laugh. Didn't work on men. It wasn't likely to work on a damn bird. As she entered the other side of the waiting room counter, she kept her sight glued to Pedro, certain those marble eyes were sparkling with mischief. Stifling a yawn, Stella reached up and held out her hand, willing the bird to perch on her fingers. When the door behind her swung open, she whirled. She was not the bird's biggest fan at the moment, but she was pretty sure the owner wanted her back. Seeing as this particular owner actually paid in cold hard cash rather than most of Brockton Point's preferred currency of casseroles and favors, Stella needed to keep the animal safe. Close the door, quick, Stella called, looking up into a gorgeous set of eyes that were somewhere between gray and blue. Wow. When she'd signed up for another veterinarian practicum student, she hadn't even considered he might be smoking hot. Truthfully, she hadn't thought much about it at all since it was routine. But this guy was enough to make her forget she was on a mission to catch a bird. Business and pleasure do not mix. That lesson might as well have been tattooed on her skin. Plus, Hot Guy was late, and that was as irritating as Pedro's taunting. Okay, squawking, but it felt like taunting. The heat of summer and the scent of cologne wafted through the door before he could get it closed. It was a powerful combination, but Stella regrouped and turned back to her bird. Bird trouble? The man asked, his voice low and amused. She sent another quick glance his way. She sent another quick glance his way. He was easily a foot taller than her, but that was nothing new. At 5 feet, most people towered over her. Those smoky gray eyes stared back at the corners. His dark hair was cut short on the sides and perfectly styled on top, like the 13 minutes he was running behind had been used to sculpt it into submission. You could say that. You're a bit late, she answered. Cut him some slack. It's not Dexter's fault that Pedro's owner thought he could walk right in and drop off his pesky pet. The student's brows rose. I'm sorry? Stella noted the light gray t-shirt and jeans, thinking that while they looked damn good on him, it wasn't the typical attire for the first day. Most students, especially those in their final leg, were eager to impress the veterinarian they worked with in hopes of securing a position. Now that she was wearing, unfortunately, all she could afford was free labor. She had a solid relationship with the University of Maine and didn't want to wreck that by snapping at her newest recruit or hitting on him. It was hard enough to ignore the fact that he looked more like he'd walked off a movie set than a college campus. But the last thing she needed was to cut off her supply of free educated help. Pedro eyed the new guy, who took small, soft steps and made clicking noises with his tongue. Stella appreciated the initiative. She started easily. Have you worked with many birds? Stella asked, moving with a stealthy slowness to shut one of the open exam room doors. I've worked with a few different breeds, mostly tropical. Interesting. She wondered if he did any of his earlier schooling overseas. She would have loved that opportunity, but her goal had been to come back and work with her dad. That had trumped other job offers. The bird fluttered her wings. Oh, no, you don't. With all the doors shut, Stella knew it was only a matter of time. She hadn't been able to give her an injection, but the bird was older and likely to tire soon. Stella's new student actually cooed. Traitor. She likes you, Stella said, trying not to scowl. Maybe Pedro sent Dexter Bronze, which was the name on the file she'd received earlier that week. Patient. Animals sensed emotion, and Stella's were riding high. Running on too little sleep and knowing she had to ask a big favor of a petty person later today had stretched her nerves thin. When Dexter let it grin, her belly rolled over like an easy-to-please puppy. You're as bad as Pedro. You might as well coo. Nope. Not only would she be his boss, but she didn't do relationships. Ever. Not anymore. Flings? Sure. Though even those have become a thing of the past. For the last several months, all she did was work. A work fling would actually be convenient, except for the multitude of gray areas. Gray was an off-limits color in Stella's world. Black treated her just fine. She thought about his eyes again, but she didn't let herself look. She needed more caffeine. She didn't usually travel in so many tangents at once. "Do you hear me?" Dexter asked. Stella widened her eyes and realized she'd completely zoned out. It wasn't even about work. "Sorry, what did you say?" "If you sit in one of the chairs, she might feel less threatened. Both of us shuffling her into a corner probably makes her nervous," he cautioned, a muscled tan arm out in a way that showed a hint of dark ink near the cuff of his short sleeve. He placed his palm upward. Stella sat and watched. "She's not nervous. She doesn't want a shot." Heartbeats are quite intelligent. Perhaps she senses your underlying disdain for her. Stella arched a brow, unsure if she was amused or annoyed. Mr. University of Maine Veterinary School certainly wasn't shy. "Well, Dexter, if she's smart, she'll realize drawing blood is immediate grounds for disdain. If you are, which I'm guessing you are, you'll realize the combination of being bitten by our clever pal, not having enough coffee, and having a practicum student arrive late are grounds for irritable outbursts." Dexter's eyes widened. "Actually, I'm not." Stella held up her hand. "Shh. Did Peter just move closer?" The parakeet seemed to have shifted down the wall. Dexter grabbed a treat from the little bowl on the counter, and crumbled some of it into his palm, once again holding it face up. "Come here, girl. You've caused enough havoc for one day. Come on down and say sorry to the pretty doctor before she gives in to one of those outburst urges." Despite herself, Stella grinned. Right, she's so not coming down for me. Stella had a feeling females of all species listened when the sexy doctor-to-be spoke in that low, gravelly voice. On the wall at a diagonal, coming closer without a lot of wing movement, Dexter patiently held his hand aloft and leaned against the reception counter. "Is it always quiet in here?" Stella laughed. "No, honestly, it hasn't been this quiet in months, but I was supposed to be closed today. But you know, grovel to the bank." Dexter crossed his ankles over each other and turned his gaze to her instead of the bird. "Is Pedro an overnight visitor?" "I was coming to check on some of the animals, and Mr. Sutter caught me outside before I could tell him I was closed. I rarely am." Since the wings of a bird, Stella decided to use her time to her benefit. She had a standard routine with new students, starting with getting to know them. "Why vet school?" He glanced at her, seemingly weighing his words. "I kind of fell into it, actually. I always wanted to work with animals, but I joined the Army and realized that the number of animals impacted by combat is disgustingly high. It didn't seem right, so that became my focus." Admiration and warmth filled her chest. He'd done a lot in a short period of time. She had lots of late bloomer students, but she thought his paperwork said early 20s. That was a long experience for someone so young. The idea that he put his heart and talent into animals in such conditions was more swoon-worthy than the flex of his biceps when he stretched out his arm and rubbed two fingers together, calling the bird again. "Have any of your rotations included surgery?" Stella asked to move when Pedro lowered her position about a foot. Before he could answer, Pedro swooped down toward Dexter's outstretched palm and actually settled on his arm. "Son of a bitch," Stella muttered under her breath. "Hi, sweetie, hungry?" The bird pecked at his hand. Stella rose slowly as her show-off student stroked the bird's feathers. The stupid was actually preened. "Dexter, are we okay with sound?" "Are we okay with the sound?"
It's kind of coming in and out. Do you have your volume on your something like your?
Well, I'm getting a lot of feedback on mine.
Yeah, we're getting feedback from you as well.
Do you have your Facebook volume on your computer? Like, do you have Facebook open?
I turned Facebook off.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties tonight. All right.
We are, yeah.
Should I keep going or?
Yeah, let's. Yeah, if you want to, or you can open it to Q&A.
What did you say? I could open tequila?
The Q&A question.
Because I don't have tequila.
Or tequila. I happen to be okay with tequila.
You're sharing. Whatever you guys want, I can finish it. But if the sound's not coming through, then I don't have to.
The sound's coming through.
It's just kind of staticky. It's a little in and out. And that's what people on the chat are saying. It's kind of going in and out.
Okay. What do you want me to do?
Okay. I know we had trouble with Lexi too. So, but yeah, if everybody that's on the authors could just make sure that their volume is turned off on Facebook in the background. Something's given us some feedback. But
All right, so let's try Lexi, or go ahead and do the Q&A, and then we'll try Lexi again and see if her does anybody have any questions for Jody? All right, so we're gonna move to Lexi again, and then we're gonna have more Q&A at the end. Thank you, Jody. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Jody.
Let's see what happens here. All right, Lexi, you're up. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, well, we're back to Heart of Frankenstein. We go from a vet office to the Alaskan wilderness.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me know when I go out and you can't hear me anymore.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, let's see. Where was I? Angela is speaking to the monster who has no name. Let's see. Instead of wondering, she took the opportunity to ask, "Why do you live out here away from civilization?" He lifted the cup to her lips again. "I don't like civilization." She drank, having no choice, but he had to know what her next question would be. Why? When he lowered the cup, she opened her mouth to ask, but he interjected. "When I found you, your clothes were scattered everywhere. I brought you here immediately, but had to wait 2 days to gather your belongings because I didn't want to leave you alone. I don't know if anything is missing. An animal could have easily taken something, but the phone is here." He was good at changing the subject when he didn't want to talk about something. Okay, she'd drop it for now, but she'd come back to it another way. Besides, his thoughtfulness once again undermined her need to know. It was one of her flaws, her need to learn everything. "Thank you for gathering my stuff. I appreciate that. But why were my clothes everywhere?" She had to admit, for the first time, she doubted him. "I can't imagine I had taken them off considering how cold it was." He brought the cup up again, and she drank the final amount of tea. It's not uncommon for someone who is suffering from severe hypothermia to begin to lose rational thought and to think they are too hot. I'm not sure of the medical process, but I've been told this is usually the last act of a person who is about to freeze to death. His matter-of-fact tone scared her. "So you're saying if you decided to wait until dinner time to go fishing, that I would have died?" She turned ahead to look at him and found it didn't hurt so much as his shirt was reflecting less light. He didn't look at her, his gaze on the cup, his head down. "Actually, if I had walked outside a few minutes earlier or later, the sun wouldn't have been in the right position to reflect off your instrument." She turned away as a shiver raced up her spine. The chances that she would wander close enough and drop her phone in just the right position for him to walk outside at just the right time had to be astronomical. Her debt to him was even deeper than she'd realized. "I don't know what to say." He rose from the chair, and she turned to watch him walk away. Looking at him was easier, but she still couldn't see the details, her eyesight blurry. She wanted to see him and know him. He was her hero. He spoke over his shoulder. "It was fate. You were meant to perform a special task." It would be easy to agree with him, but she was no one extraordinary. It wasn't as if she would save the world or something. She was more inclined to believe she'd been extremely lucky and she owed her life and whatever she made of it to him. Suddenly, her confidence in the way she lived her life eroded beneath her. It was time to reevaluate. His point of view. He washed the cup, then used it to pour himself the rest of the tea. He hadn't planned on drinking the same mixture, but as images of Angel lying on the ledge flashed through his mind, he preferred a little help to find sleep. It had been fate. He hadn't planned to fish that day. He planned to freeze the last of his vegetables, but the sky had been clear of all clouds and as blue as glacier ice when the sun lit it, so he changed his mind and headed out the door. That he might have found her that evening because wolves had smelled dinner pierced his soul. He chugged down the too hot liquid, then rewashed the cup. He was confident now that she was his redemption. He strode over to the bed and found her already asleep. Gently, he lifted her and pulled the cushion out that allowed her to sit up. Unable to resist, he picked up a few strands of hair that lay on her forehead and moved them aside, their texture like nothing he'd ever touched before. She was beyond beautiful, and he was anxious to discover more of the beauty as well inside. Her gratefulness proved she had a good heart. He wanted to learn about her life, what she'd done, others she'd influenced toward the good. A Keokuk had predicted that one day an angel would find him and test him, and here she was. His test was obvious: save her and bring her back to health. This he could do. He forced himself to return to the couch and set the cushion in place. Despite the tea, he was awake, the light outside having faded to dark twilight. He preferred last month when the days and nights had a more equal share, but the days grew shorter now. Unable to resist, he slipped outside. Sitting on the edge of the porch with his feet on the steps below, he listened to the sounds of the night. The moon had yet to rise and true darkness yet to descend, but already the aurora borealis danced across the northern sky. The green and red shimmered, first one brighter than the other, as if each wanted to lead. As the green turned bright, his heart lurched. Angel's eyes were that color. He'd noticed when she first opened them. He feared tomorrow when she discovered the one scar he couldn't cover. Would she avoid looking at him? Would she start to fear him? He rubbed his right wrist, then froze. He'd forgotten the wristbands. Immediately he took a deep breath as a Keokuk had taught him over 200 years earlier. Reaching for his center, he found calm waiting for him. With his emotions under control, his intellect became more efficient. If Angel had seen his wrist scars, she would have said something. Amusement lightened his spirits. She would say something about everything eventually. Her curiosity was strong. Her interest in every little thing, including him, was entertaining when it wasn't uncomfortable. The thought of spending every day with her lifted his spirit in ways that hadn't been lifted since the day Victor Frankenstein agreed to create for him a mate. It made him want to find other ways to please her. She had no idea how much lightness she'd brought to his life already. A noise inside the cabin had him jumping to his feet. He opened the door to the sound of her voice. "There? I need help." He closed the door and strode across the dark room, urged on by the fear in her voice. "I'm here. What do you need?" "Oh, good. It was so dark when I woke up, and I need to use the chair you made for me. I'm not used to being so dependent on someone. It's a little scary." As he lit the lantern, he guessed she minimized her real feelings because what he heard in her tone was a lot more than a little fear. "You know, I'm going to have to call you something. Surely in your entire life, someone has called you by some name." Now it was uncomfortable again. "Yes, and every place I've lived, I've been given a name. Monster, abomination, murderer, freak. But none of those are who I am now, nor something I want to be called. We're going to have to come up with something." He didn't look at her, not in a hurry to acquire yet another name. Instead of thinking about what she might call him, he brought her chair to the side of the bed and removed the quilt from her. Lifting her from his fur coat, which was still beneath her, he set her gently on the chair. Then he moved the toilet paper she needed from the end table to the bed near her. Though his help was a necessity, he could see she was still embarrassed by the situation. "I need to go into my storage room. You won't have to yell for me to hear you. Just say you're ready." "Okay." When she didn't say anything else, an unusual occurrence, he quickly left through his pantry door, anxious to put on the leather bands that covered his wrists. Once inside, he had no light and moved about carefully to find his lantern. Though he knew exactly where everything was placed, it still took him 3 attempts to put his hand on it, and in the process, he kicked over a shovel. Striking a match from the box he left next to the lantern, he understood better how Angel must have felt not being able to see at all. Over the years, his body had grown more impervious to injury. At first, if cut, he would bleed, but eventually that stopped occurring, and wounds healed up faster and faster, no blood in sight. It was the same with his sensitivity to hot and cold. The longer he existed, the less difference he could tell in the temperature. He would give up his immortality immediately if he could feel like she felt, because that was part of what made her human. With the muted light of the lantern, he opened a trunk he'd acquired in a swap and pulled out a small box he kept important items in. Lifting the lid, he removed the 2 leather bands that snapped around his wrists for a snug fit. He'd had them made only 10 years ago to replace the last pair. He shook his head. It had taken him years after Victor's death to realize that by hiding his scars, he could avoid immediate revulsion, but it had taken him decades to understand humans' reactions to his gaze. He had learned so many things the hard way with no guidance until he'd met Akia Cook. Closing the small box, he put it away and turned off the lantern, anxious to be ready to help Angel when she called. He walked to the door and waited. His hearing, like his other senses and abilities, far surpassed that of man. While an advantage in his choice of lifestyle, it was simply one more way in which Dr. Frankenstein had made him different and forced him to be alone. Ready? The voice on the other side of the door was pained, and he threw it open to rush to her side. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and his heart squeezed. In an instant, he took in the tableau. Her right hand's bandages were twisted. The paper she'd used was on the floor, and one leg was out to the side. He wanted to hug her to him and take her pain away, but to touch her like that would hurt her more. She looked up at him apologetically. I'm sorry I took so long. It was hard. The last word was choked out. I wasn't in a rush. Let me place you back in bed and then I'll change your bandage. Will it hurt? As she looked up at him through long light lashes, her green eyes bright with her pain, he quickly moved his gaze, swallowing the lump in his throat. It will. We can wait until tomorrow after you've rested. I like that idea better. He walked to the foot of the bed and pulled his fur coat off it. With the fire so high, she should be warm enough now without it. He returned to stand before her. Very carefully, he moved his arm behind her back and the other beneath her knees. Rising, he stepped around the chair and laid her on the sheet. Her face was filled with tension, her eyes closed, and her lips pursed tight. Despite how careful he was, she still hurt. I'm sorry. If he could have moved her without pain, he would have, but he was not so naive as to believe that possible. Her eyelashes fluttered open. It's not your fault. I did this to myself. I was so stupid. He wanted to take her chin and make her look at him, but he didn't dare have her gaze into his eyes. So he settled for a stern tone instead. You weren't stupid. You were ignorant. There is a significant difference. He covered her with the quilt, leaving her hands beneath it. She closed her eyes again. I guess. She obviously didn't believe him, but her need for sleep was far more important than a debate, so he didn't respond. Instead, he pulled the bucket from under the chair and headed outside. I think that's enough.
Awesome. So is this one that you're working on now or one that's out?
Actually, this one is up for a Roan Award. I find out next week when I go to California.
Oh, good luck. I hope it wins.
Thank you. I'm just really thrilled to be a finalist. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
Awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Sure. Do any of you readers have any questions for Lexi while she's up here? Again, you will have more time at the end if you think of something that you wanted to ask later.
I want to know what inspired you to write about Frankenstein.
When I read Shelley's Frankenstein, I was teaching it to my university class, and we all completely agreed. By the end of the book, we were ready to kill Victor Frankenstein. He was such a pathetic wuss, and we totally felt bad for the monster. I mean, the way he treated him from his very first breath, Victor Frankenstein ran away, and he created him. So it's just, this story has been something that's been, the monster has been begging me for his own love story. Yeah, and actually in Shelley's book, he does start making a mate, and when he sees the monster outside the window watching him, he destroys her in front of him, ripping her apart. So just as the monster's at his highest hope, Victor just destroyed. It's an amazing story. I kudos to Mary Shelley.
So we're gonna try to, if we don't get them on there before you guys do, drop your buy links in the comments so that the readers can pop on over there and grab it if they want to. I mean, we should have said that earlier. All right. So, any more questions? All right, let's move on to Danica so we can get our question Q&A done at the end. Lexi, I know there's lots of people who want to buy your book or read it. So if you wouldn't mind, while Danica's talking, just dropping your link in there. And
Okay.
same with you, Jody. Same with you. Drop your links in there. And we might have to hear that, the kiss scene. I saw a reader say we want to see it.
Yeah, I do too.
All right, so we're going to bring Danica up here. If you don't know her yet, she writes for Harlequin, and she's also self-pubbed. I met Danica through a publisher that we had. She is amazing. She's the sweetest. She brings you coffee when you're doing book signings.
I try. Hi, thank you so much for having me on. Those are tough acts to follow, man.
You have a puppy.
But I have a puppy. Thank goodness. I just lost my yellow lab, and I thought it was so cool that Jody was talking about the Labradoodle. This is actually a golden doodle, and he is 9 weeks old. So, see little guy. So we're glad to have him as my little brand ambassador tonight. So my book is called Forever a Queen. I can put in the buy links later. This is actually the third book in my Irish Traveler series. The first one should be free. It is free on Barnes & Noble. It's 99 cents on Amazon. So yeah, you can check it out if you're interested. This again is Forever a Queen book 3. So this is the prologue. I have a terrible habit of reading too fast, so I will try to go a little bit slower. Reading aloud is not one of my favorite things, so I'm better at bringing coffee. Anyhow, so here's the prologue. Wise one said that the only thing certain about a person's life was death. Yet Helen O'Driscoll had seen the other side. Life didn't end when a body stopped breathing. No, the soul simply existed on a new plane on the other side of the veil. Others said that the only certainty in a person's life was change. But even that was somewhat predictable. To everything there was a duality. Life would always be defeated by dark, and dark by light. Tolerance was and would be sequestered by hate, and hate by tolerance. The only thing that truly held any certainty, in Helena's eyes, was that one's heart would always give love, even if one's heart had suffered at the hands of those unworthy of the extraordinary gift that they had been given. For even she, who bore the scars of her mam's hatred and had promised her heart to a man, and what a man Graham Kelly was. They walked out of her cottage, making their way towards his Mercedes. A man was squatting down beside it, doing something to Graham's tire. He was wearing a black leather coat, and his head was shaved so close that the sun reflected off his oily skin. "Hey you, who goes there?" Graham yelled into the harsh evening light. The man looked up, and seeing them, he turned. The way he moved reminded her of a slug. As he oozed around on his heel, she could make out the brand on his pudgy ankle. The aged burn was in the shape of a triangle, pointed at the top, but its bottom was opened and a series of lines ran through its center. The mark of the anti-supernatural organization, the Humanity Group, or the HG. They were here on the grounds, and they were far worse than the noxious slug she had taken him for. She knew it was only a matter of time until the HG descended upon them and sought vengeance for her killing one of their leaders, Benjamin Poole. If only she had cut off the head of the snake and killed both leaders at the same time. If she had just known the identity of the second leader, they could have acted. Though they had been using every resource available to them. Under attack by the enemy.
Oh no, Danica.
You froze.
Am I here?
Looks like
Yes, you're back.
Am I back? Okay. All right.
you're back.
Now let's see if I can figure out where I was at in reading.
I think you ended with her.
Okay. I don't know where I'm at. So I'm just going to pick up. Though they had been using every resource available to them, they were still searching for the identity of the second leader. And now here, they were coming under attack by their enemy and finding themselves ill-equipped to fight. If they didn't get the answers they needed soon, they were going to lose everything. Their friends, the support of the supernatural community, their homes, the manor, and even their lives. "Stop," Graham yelled, running after the man. She took off after him, struggling to keep pace with Graham and his long legs. After a few hundred meters, she stopped to catch her breath. This is what a mortal would do. She stretched out her arms, readying herself to face the man with her powers, but she stopped. Though her powers of clairsentience had amplified since she had incinerated Poole, they were so new and so extreme, she wasn't sure about them just yet. As badly as she wanted to stop the man, she couldn't risk hurting Graham. One little misfire or stray strand of magic, and he would die along with the man she had wished dead. "Catch him!" Helena yelled, lowering her arms. Graham disappeared over the hill, and from the direction of the main road, there came the sound of tires screeching on the tarmac. "Graham," she called, running towards him, terror rippling through her. If something happened to him, she'd never be able to forgive herself. He was hers, and she was his. Without him? No, I can't think about it. As she ascended the hill, Graham popped into view. He was staring down at a large canvas bag that lay at the edge of the road. Its khaki surface was speckled with blood, and though it was zipped closed, as she drew closer, the scent of decay and rotting flesh filled the air. "Helena, don't come closer." He put out his hand, motioning for her to wait. "Where did it come from?" she asked. "The guy," he said, motioning down the road with his chin. "He was part of the HG," she interrupted. "I know." "Aye," Graham said with a nod. "And he wasn't at your place alone." He kneeled down by the bag. "They threw this out just as the guy got to the car. Apparently they wanted us to have whatever it was that was inside. They were sending us a message." She knelt down beside him and took hold of the zipper. "Maybe this is nothing." Her words sounded hollow and woody, even to her, as she unzipped the bag. As the canvas bag fell open, she was met with a severed head. She covered her mouth with the back of her hand as a scent of rotting flesh wafted up toward her. The woman's eyes were open and her tongue was swollen, but there was something familiar about her. She had the same brown eyes, the same dark hair. This stranger looked almost identical to her. That was all except for her forehead, where someone had carved a bloody message. "You're next." Helena stepped away from the bag in the scent of the putrid head. A wave of sickness overtook her, and she turned away, trying to hold back the contents of her stomach. She had to get out of here. If the HG was going to keep hurting the innocent, if they were going to keep coming after her like this, she had to leave. She could not allow anyone else to get hurt because of her and her actions. She was damned. The only answer was to run, but Graham would never let her go alone. Though it was selfish, she wanted him there, beside her. And if they were careful, if they kept moving, they would never find themselves stuffed into a bag like the innocent woman at their feet. But over the last year, she had come to learn that the only certainty in her life was that she would do anything to protect the one she loved.
So good.
Thanks, Dylan. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks for having me. Oh, little yawn.
All right. So do any readers have any questions for Danica specifically? Because then we're gonna, if not, we're gonna move everybody up, and Dylan and I. Let's see if we can move Dylan. Dylan, you'll have to ask questions down there.
That's right.
Dylan and I will ask questions along with the readers. So here we are. All right, everybody say hi. All right, readers, you read too fast. Your agent, or Danica, is that your agent or your former agent, Lane?
Oh, I can't see, but yeah.
Oh, he said really too fast. LOL.
Oh, probably the dog yawning.
I thought you did a great job.
You did. You all did amazing. I'm sorry. Let's see, Dylan, you're still up there. You're not supposed to be up there.
Where's Jody?
Jody's supposed to come up here. Jody, hi.
Hello. Hi.
You know what though? We have a couple minutes, and I know the readers wanted to hear your kiss scene.
I didn't have a kiss scene. I can finish it, but I didn't have a kiss scene.
Oh well, okay.
You want me to finish it without the kiss scene?
You can, yeah, go ahead. If you want to. I'm sorry we had technical difficulties earlier. It's weird.
No, that's okay.
Storm outside. Okay.
What?
There's not even a storm outside, so I don't know.
All right. Are we okay for sound now?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, so the bird just came down and I guess fell for Dexter's charms. When he looked at Stella, his smile made her stomach somersault again. With a cocky nod of his head, he asked, "What now?" Stella laughed quietly, gesturing for him to follow her into the exam room Pedro had escaped from. She glanced over her shoulder. "Let's see how docile she is for you while I give her a shot." Dexter's chuckle vibrated in the small, sterile room and sent shivers over Stella's skin. Or maybe it's just cold in here. Right, it was cold. They made it through the shot a lot easier with 4 hands, and when Pedro was back in her cage dozing off, Stella breathed a sigh of relief. Dexter was making himself comfortable, looking around the open reception room while Stella wrote up her notes. She'd never had a student with such sex appeal, sculpted body, mesmerizing eyes, confidence. Stella closed her eyes as she realized she'd blurted the word out loud. "Pardon me?" Dexter moved closer, but she refused to look at him. Nothing. I was just making notes." "You're putting something in your notes about Pedro's confidence?" Stella looked up, and sure enough, Dexter had crowded way too close. His eyes locked on hers, doing strange things to Stella's sorely deprived libido. "Yes, I am." "Right. Stick to your story." The look on his face proved he didn't believe her. Straightening, she took the file and walked to the cabinet to put it away. She needed to reattach her walls of professionalism. "There are no other patients in clinic today, so I'll show you around, but I do have some errands I need to run in a bit. Plus, I have 2 farm visits. You can fill out some paperwork and then we'll head down to the stables. I need to check on my horse." Just the thought of spending a few minutes with Chocolate Chip made the tension slip from her shoulders. Too bad she didn't have time for a ride today. Under the counter, she switched her Converse for them. Then grabbed the clipboard and the paperwork. "Are you guys still getting feedback?"
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, we are.
But Danica's not? That's good. All right, Danica, I'll just read to you.
Thank you. I'm enjoying it.
I'm almost done. "So listen," Dexter said, taking the clipboard from her after looking at it like it might bite him. Now he was nervous. Stella headed to the door with him on her heels. It would be easier to rebuild those sex-starved barriers if she wasn't breathing in the delicious smell of him. 6 weeks. She could handle 6 weeks with a sexy, smirky student if he was as competent as he appeared. They'd barely stepped off the porch of the clinic her father had built before she was born when a tow truck came rumbling up the drive. Stella shielded her eyes to block the already hot sun. Dexter shoved his hands into his pockets and rocked back on his heels. "You fix cars as well as animals?" "Not so much," she replied, not recognizing the tow truck driver or the passenger. The big truck pulled a small, beat-up 2-door vehicle behind it. Her own dogs, Nacho and Soda, howled from the wraparound porch of the farmhouse she'd grown up in. It sat a short walk away on a small incline. The tow truck driver parked, and the guy on the passenger side rushed out, almost bailing on the gravel drive. "Slow guy," Dexter mumbled. Stella winced, amused by Dexter's commentary, but worried that the person rushing them would faceplant in her clinic parking lot. He reminded her of one of her labs as puppies, all feet and ears. "Something I can do for you?" Stella called as she continued. Stella called as he continued to rush over. Dressed in light chinos and a button-up shirt, he straightened his shoulders like he was just now thinking of making a good impression. "I'm so sorry for being late. Are you Dr. Lane?" Stella's brows crunched together. Dexter mumbled something under his breath that sounded a lot like "uh-oh." "And you are?" He stopped in front of her, his breath choppy and his smile crooked. He had curly dark hair and the slightest hint of stubble on his young-looking face. "I'm Dexter Brown, ma'am, from the University of Maine Veterinarian Program. My faculty had arranged my practicum with you. I truly apologize for being late. My car broke down about 15 miles from here. I tried to call, but it went to voicemail." Stella shivered uncomfortably. Turning slowly, she saw who she thought was Dexter staring at her with an abashed, "Forgive me."
This ought to be good. This is exactly what happens when you get sucked in by sexy eyes and a killer smile. She comes in with a glare. Who the hell are you? That's it.
So good. I can't wait to read it. I'm gonna have to go
Thank
buy it.
you.
Definitely drop your buy link.
Where do I drop that?
In the comments. So you go to the video on the Facebook page, and you can in the comments. We'll post the social media links at the top for the readers to go. So maybe I'm just thinking here. Maybe it's those Canadian airwaves coming into America.
I'm being polite.
I love Canada.
I'm being polite. I'm giving you the option not to listen. So,
Jody, what was the title of your book?
Never Expected You.
Okay, because I'm buying it right now. I promise.
Oh, labs on the cover. I had to fight for those labs.
I think they're adorable.
Thank you. They had some funny looking puppies on there when we started.
Lexi, what was the title of your book?
Someone else is Canadian.
Linda is Canadian. I love Canada. I'm from Montana, right on the border, right next to Danica. I mean, me and Danica are from the same town. Well,
yeah.
I'm in Texas right now. So, yeah. But, yeah, we went through British Columbia on our way to Alaska. We moved to Alaska.
Yeah.
Loved it.
It's beautiful. Just gets a lot of rain. That's all. I don't like rain. It rains a lot.
And I bet it's a lot.
Pretty when it's not raining.
And I also, I also love how polite your police officers are. Your Mounties, they're super polite. They take down people on your.
Oh, thank you.
We watched You Are Under Arrest, right?
Okay.
And they're very polite police officers.
Oh. Just reading the comments, Linda. I was born in Ontario.
Oh.
And how many police officers have you seen to have a rating on police officers?
There's a lot of Mounties that come into Alaska. They would come here for the Canadian and Alaskan contest. They had a police officer contest every year, and I think Canada's won for quite a while yet now. But Alaska had some good years running.
So if I search for there's no public nudity.
Let's see. I know Danica. I think it was from a bar, wasn't it?
Bathroom.
You sure? I thought it was a bar.
It was Seattle
right.
bathroom.
My husband knows you from a bar.
I met her husband at the bar.
That's right. That's right. That's true.
Funny.
Jody, we need to drink whiskey together.
I guess so. It should be good because I haven't drank in a long time, so it shouldn't take much.
Oh, so you're the one that has the arrest record.
All right, so does anybody have any questions for our authors today? If not, you're always welcome to go to their Facebook page or their Twitter. What else do you guys have? You guys Goodreads?
Facebook, Instagram,
because I know all three of these authors are amazing at reading and interacting with readers. And
Linda, my favorite place to write is in my office, which is where I am right now. But unless I have to do 5,000 words that day, then I hit my recliner in the living room.
Yes.
Nice.
I write on my
office as well.
Here.
Is that
your treadmill?
Oh yeah, I have it set up with pallet boards and because 5,000 words a day, and I would weigh 900 pounds, so I have to.
Well, I don't do 5,000 a day. Only on under deadline.
I can barely walk and talk at the same time. I cannot walk and type.
You have one of the walking treadmills?
Yes.
I am jealous.
I walked into a pole texting.
I walked into a bay window and cut my forehead 2 black eyes. Yep. And my editor told me I can't write klutzy people anymore. And I'm like, dude, write what you know.
Dylan wants to know how fast you go on your treadmill.
Like 2. I'm at 2.
That still counts.
But it's good. You
That's how fast I walk off my treadmill. Very slow.
To answer my favorite place to write, I used to. I'm going to give you a little background here. So Hurricane Harvey, we lost everything. So right now we're living in an RV. So right now my favorite place to write is the only place to write, which is outside on our table. No, it's okay because we had insurance. So we're just waiting for the military to transfer us, and then we're gonna go and get amazing furniture. And I got just this giant office all planned out. And then that's my favorite place, right?
And that's how I know Dawn, because we're both Coast Guard spouses.
Really?
Coastie girls, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Your husbands are away for a long time?
Mine.
Is that how that works?
Go ahead, Lexi.
Mine isn't. I mean, he got deployed for Florence, but he was back in no time. He's public affairs, so he's not like going in and rescuing people in the water and stuff. He's taking pictures of people getting rescued.
Nice.
And hangs out at the bar.
My husband has been on and off boats for a while. He was a drill instructor at one point. He's the ultimate alpha male. But just more recently, they did tell him that he's got so much sea time that his next unit, he's going to have to go to land. So, you can imagine how bummed we are that he's going to land. But so yeah, we'll be hopefully chilling on land, and he won't have to go anywhere until retirement. He retires in 3 years. So.
Oh, perfect!
Yay! And then we'll move back to Montana where we belong, right now.
Linda asked us what are we working on now? What's coming next?
Go ahead, Lexi.
Well, my 25th book comes out next month. That's a cowboy book, Wedding at Poker Flat. And then the book I'm working on right now is the final in the series from this one, which is it's a 4-book series on A Christmas Carol. And I know 4 books doesn't make sense when there's 3 spirits, but the Scrooge character is actually a widow, and so she has to have her love story. So the final book in that series I'm working on that right now, and that'll come out for Christmas.
Yay! Yeah. All right, Jody, are you there? Having some technical difficulties.
Looks like she froze.
I'm froze.
It's cold up there in Canada.
Yeah, it's frozen. All right, so I'll answer mine. I am working on getting my backlist out, Beacon of the Night, I Heard the Bells, Ghost Ships Cry, and Burning Light Within. And then I'm working on book 3 in my Montana Girls series, which I'm also self-pubbing. And in the meantime, my agent is shopping a Coast Guard book, and I did see that Catherine, she's a Coast Guard spouse as well. She has a question we'll get to next, but looks like I'm frozen now.
No.
Okay.
You're not frozen.
Okay, good.
Jody's back.
Oh, good. All right. So yeah, I'm working on that. And Jody, are you there? Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
I'm frozen.
Oh, there she
All
is.
right.
Now I can see her.
Catherine wants to know who decides your book covers. Lexi, you might be the only one left over there.
Really? I see Danica.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Why don't you take this one first, Danica?
Oh, okay. I am currently working on a 4-book.
Do you hear?
Intrigue. I'm on book 3. It's about a Blackwater security type group. I'm pretty excited about that. Like a lot of like trained killers and stuff. And then as far as how do I decide the covers, Harlequin does that for me. Simon Schuster does it for me. But with the
Lexi, is she
series, I actually make those covers myself. So I'm super proud of them. Yeah.
Oh, I have two cover artists actually, and my favorite thing is to go looking for hunks for my covers.
I am totally known for stopping people in Costco and being like, "Are you a cover model?" Dudes love it, husband doesn't. Again, resident clown. Are we the only ones that are not frozen, Lexi?
I don't know. Jody? I see her, but she's not saying anything.
Yeah, it really must be a Canadian thing. Oh, there you are. You moved.
We lost our host. We won.
Yeah,
it's a coup. We took over.
So I guess at the end of the show, we will make sure and put our buy links in there. I wish we weren't hosting this. Dawn, Dylan, where are you? Yeah, thank you so much, you guys, for having us on. And I know Lexi personally, and she is just such a phenomenal woman. She's hilarious. Her husband's fantastic. Dawn's fantastic.
She actually likes my husband better than me. I know.
What happened?
There's Jody.
There you are.
We staged a coup. We took over.
Dawn left us.
CDG Coast Guard. No more terms to learn. I can finally see all the comments now. Yay! I couldn't see them before. Oh my God, look at all the people. Hi, guys.
Hi, Dylan. I see you.
Which book should a reader start with? I love that question. That's a great question.
Oh, that is a good question.
Yeah. For me, if you like cowboys, the first book to start with is easy. Cowboys Never Fold. And if you like paranormal, really, really sexy, Mask, Masque. If you like paranormal steamy, then Passion of Sleepy Hollow. Or Hard Frankenstein.
And they're super hot, just so you know.
What about you, Danica?
For me, my first book, if you want something a little edgier, my first book for Harlequin was about domestic violence and overcoming it. And I think today this is a little apropos. So that one is Smoke and Ashes. I love it. It's one of my bestsellers. And a second series, if you just like the feel good, escapism, miscalculation. That's another intrigue series I have, and I'm expanding from there. So I will have 12 books by the end of next year with them. And then as far as paranormal, I love The Once a Gypsy. It's kind of my feminist manifesto, not gonna lie. So it's kind of this new adult kind of finding her way as a young woman and figuring out what's important, which kind of ends up coming back to her being a powerhouse. So I'm super proud of it because I want my daughter to be the chick in this book. So yeah.
Cool.
That sounds awesome. I made it back. I don't know how. The powers that be
I know,
lifted me back into the scene. I don't know what happened. I think Dawn had some technical difficulties. She's still like the wizard behind the screen, popping us in and out, but we can't see her anymore. So I don't know if anybody else has any other questions. I was just looking. We've kind of gone over, so I don't know. Let's see if there's anything else. I'm trying to go back and look. I think we got them all. But I just want to say thank you very much for being here tonight. We really appreciate your time and are looking forward to checking out all of the books that you read from. Next time, we've got, on October 11th, we've got Catherine McClellan, Jenny Martz, and Alexa Martin. And I am super excited to be able to talk to them. I know Jenny writes cowboy boots. Geez, I wore my boots yesterday for the first time in a long time. I've got boots on the mind. Jenny writes cowboy books and is one of my source book sisters. And Alexa and Dawn and I all share the same agent, and her first book came out. So we'll be excited to talk to them. And Catherine, I think, writes some senior stuff. So that'll be fun. But Danica, Lexi, and Jody, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I hope you had a good time. And as far as the giveaway goes, we'll pop all of your follow links in the comments. And if people just want to go and like and follow, then we'll do a drawing by, let's say, 24 hours. So by, this time tomorrow night, we'll announce winners in the comments.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks so much. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
Night, guys.
Night.
All right. Bye.